What up guys, welcome back to another random video. Now a few years ago I got into podcasting. I made a few episodes. The channel I created was called Long Form Conversations, and I brought in a colleague of mine, and we kind of did like this fun thing where we would throw up philosophical questions and we do a rapid fire, what we thought about it, what we discussed, because we always wanted to be philosophers, right? All of us. I'm sure we could wax lyrical about different topics, each and every one of you guys out there. And it's always kind of fun to hear different people's opinions on certain philosophical questions, really deep, thought-provoking stuff. And I thought I'd start that up again. Unfortunately, right now I have no friends, so I'll just have to do it myself. So what I've essentially done is gone to this page, conversational starters, and I've taken about 200 questions, philosophical questions about human nature, human condition, questions on reality, the universe, blah, blah, blah. I've put it into this wheel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin it. We're going to listen to some nice, relaxing music in the background. Oh, hang on, let me fix that up. Okay, fixed. We're going to listen to some nice, relaxing music. Hopefully this is, royalty free. It goes for 11 hours. You can find this stuff on YouTube. And yeah, we're just going to sit back, relax, and answer some lifelong philosophical questions. There's 200 here. Obviously, we're not going to go through 200, but we'll see what it brings up. And feel free to join me in the comments below if you have something really interesting to say or nothing interesting at all. So the first one is, if someone you loved was killed in front of you, but someone created a copy of them that was perfect right down to the atomic level, would they be the same person, and would you love them just as much? I remember actually answering this question, and I will say that if a perfect copy was created of them right down to the atomic level, would they be the same person? I don't think they will be. Okay, because it brings up the question of nature versus nurture. Are you a product of your environment, or are you a product of your genetics? Just because you have the same cells down to the molecular level, does that necessarily mean you are the same person? I think people are very much shaped by their exposure, their environment, their upbringing, their traumas, and I don't think that'd be the same person. And oftentimes the person that you fall in love with is the person that has developed through their experiences and through life. So I'd hate to say it, but I think I would try. I think what would happen is you would love the image of that person, or you would love the memory of that person, right? You would love what you remember them to be, but they are not that person because they're not made from that same experience that they have lived. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know, maybe you guys think differently. Maybe you think that if it was the same from a molecular level, they would be the same person. I don't think that's the case. Next. Okay, so next question. Let's see what we've got here. Human memory has been shown to be incredibly unreliable. With that in mind, how do you know which of your memories are genuine and which have been altered or made up? Wow, I love this question. I'm 40 this year, and my memory is fading so fast, it's ridiculous. I can do something and then I just quickly forget it. So this is quite pertinent to what am I saying again? No, I'm just joking. Okay, so yeah, absolutely, memory is unreliable. So I think, well, look, we're not going to put a percentage on it, but I think a whole heap of our memory is very much not true. Not only that, when we recall stories that happen to us in our life and we tell other people, I think what tends to happen is the old Chinese whispers scenario, where you tell the story and every little piece that you tell gets muddled and gets changed, and then you tell it to more people, and then as you tell it to more and more people, the story becomes even more embellished, more made up, certain aspects are lost. So yeah, 100%. I think memory is a beautiful thing, but it's a very fragile thing. I think people really underestimate how much they think they remember, when in reality it's continually altered depending on the audience that they're speaking to, or the context in which they are telling that story. So a lot of it is completely altered. It gets altered by time, it gets altered by place, it gets altered by mood, it gets altered by the person you're speaking to, or it gets altered by how you're feeling at the time. So 100% memory is very fragile, and it's totally unreliable, which I mean, I remember once I was walking my dog at the local park, and I saw this person just lying face down in the grass, and I was just freaked out because it was like, I don't know, 7 a.m. in the morning. I was like, geez, is this person dead? I wasn't too sure, and I called out, I yelled out, and there was no reaction, there was no movement, and it was literally a person lying on the grass with hoodie over their head, like lying face down. I can tell by their feet they were lying face down. So I called the police and I said, hey, I think there's a body out here. You guys need to come out and just take a look. So they came out to take a look, and by that time I had already gone. I just gave them the details and everything else. I was like, oh, I'm out of here. This is getting a bit too freaky for me. Months down the track, like literally months, 6 months, 8 months down the track, a police officer called me and says, hey, about that call that you made many moons ago, we're doing an investigation for a missing person. Can you come in and give us an interview and you know, whatever, and answer some questions? And I went there, and it was like an hour and a half, and they were asking me all these questions and what they look like, what they wore, how did you know they were, you know, just all these questions. And I did my best to recollect what I thought, and then I found out afterwards that half the stuff that I recalled was absolutely wrong. I recalled that they were wearing thongs, but I could see their feet, and apparently they weren't wearing thongs. For you Americans out there, thongs is sandals. I record them being face down, but apparently they lay upwards with their hoodie covering their face. Like all these things, I record it being a man because it just looked like a big person with manly feet, and apparently they were looking for a missing female. So again, all that just to say that memory is absolutely fragile, and for the most part it can't be trusted. So I don't even know how they bring witnesses to the stand months down the track to answer questions about, you know, some horrible murder or something like that. Anyway, let's take a look at this. I hope this doesn't cut off, but if I steal a loaf of bread from you and eat it, when does the bread itself cease to be yours and become mine? Okay. I think there's double questions there. If I steal a loaf of bread from you and eat it, when does the bread itself cease to be yours and becomes mine? Well, I think that's a bit silly question. I'm going to spin again, but I imagine as soon as you steal it from me and you eat it, it's yours because it's in your body at that point. I think up until the point where you take it from me, one can argue it's still mine. But then again, once you've consumed it and it's in your body, I can't recuperate it. I mean, I can if I ask you to regurgitate it, but there's no point. I don't want it at that point in time. You can have it. It's yours. All right, next question. What is the most important right our government allows for? God. Depends where you live, right? Depends where you live, what country you live in, and I guess the cultural village that you come from. One could argue that the most important right our government allows for is free speech. In fact, do you even believe in governments? Do you believe in personal sovereignty? Do you believe that there's such thing as governments allowing us anything? You know, do we have the freedom to be our own person? That's too convoluted. But I'd be interested in what you guys think. Like, what right? I can't even remember. See, I was talking about memory before. I literally cannot remember that question. Is it possible that some animals are self-aware and think about their ability to think? Oof. I don't know why, but the documentary Blackfish came to my head, the killer whale, and I can't remember what the killer whale's name is. Tutu, Tintin, I can't remember. kooky. Yes, I totally think some animals are self-aware and they do think about their ability to think. I think chimpanzees and gorillas and a lot of mammals do think about thinking. I mean, there's degrees to it. It's a big spectrum, and I think there's degrees to consciousness and thought and being self-aware. And let's also not assume it's mammals or those. It could be insects that also have this ability to think and be aware. I don't know, obviously a lot of us don't know, but I think straight off the top of my head I would imagine that some animals are self-aware and some animals do have the ability to think. I think we've seen this in chimpanzees and gorillas, so I mean, it's possible. Where does self-worth come from? This is an interesting question. A lot of people would argue that self-worth comes from how you feel about yourself. It's an innate feature. It's your own personality. But then if you say it comes from inside you, then are you not, your values and your thoughts and your perspective and your opinions of yourself and others, isn't that not shaped by your experiences? So is your self-worth a construct of your experiences? Again, is it not made by your trauma? I don't know. Or is your self-worth dictated, as one could argue in 2024, from social media, from your external world, from the opinions of others? Let's hope not. Let's hope that your opinions of yourself and your own self-worth comes from yourself, because at the end of the day, life is a one-player game. It's only you versus you. Comparison is the thief of joy. Your self-worth should be something that you give to yourself. But then again, a lot of people would say, well, what's the benchmark? I need a benchmark, right? I need to say that my self-worth is here. This is how I see myself. But I need to get a benchmark of what that looks like from somewhere. So I honestly believe it's a combination. I'd like to think that you get to a point in life, maybe it's maturity, maybe it's age, maybe it's experience, that it's learning, right? Every day is a school day where you learn what your self-worth is. Like, you get to a point where you realize people's opinions of you don't matter as much as your own opinion, because at the end of the day, I tell this to a lot of people, that the people you come across, unless they're really important to you and unless they stay in your life for a long time, they're a blip in your timeline, right? So their opinion shouldn't matter to you as much or at all, because you may work or come across a person who tells you off at work. Let's say your customer service, you're at the checkout and someone just has a bad day and they disgruntled and they tell you off. It will ruin your day and it may shape how you feel about yourself, because they're like, you're a stupid idiot, why don't you give me better customer service, right? That may shape your own image of your self-worth, but at the end of the day, they're but a blip in your timeline. If you were to live to 80 and 90 years old, that one experience should mean nothing to you. Hang on one sec. Sorry, I had to just switch something off because I was cooking and an alarm went off to remind me, again, memory, that I had to switch it off. So yeah, look, self-worth, my opinion is it should come from yourself, but then again, that definition is created by your own experiences. So all these philosophical questions is just so multifaceted, so many different answers. If you could start a country from scratch, what would it be like? Oh my lord, I've thought about this, just because you come across certain things in life, certain things happen, and I often think to myself, if I could change the rules, if I could make my whatever, if I could make the laws, it would be like this or be like that. Sometimes I'm a very harsh critic, of myself and also of others, and that's something I'm really trying to change. My expectations of others are often too high, and I forget that everyone is on their own journey and everyone's trying to be the best version of themselves. And what I see, even though in my mind is not a good thing, I should remember that everyone is living their own life and trying to be the best they can be. So I like to think that it'd be a just world, a fair world, a spiritual world, but I know it wouldn't be like that. I appreciate that human nature being the way it is, that we're so different in so many ways, that I don't really think we can ever have a perfect world. And that's, I think the current world and the way we are is a reflection of that chaos, that uncontrolled chaos, that whilst we want to implement some kind of utopian society, it's impossible to, because we have to respect people's thoughts and differences, and it'd be too hard to implement whatever world, I think. But yeah, I'd like to think it'd be a fair and just world. If you can save another's life and don't, because doing so would break the law, are you ethically justified in your decisions? Hang on. So if you can save another's life, but you don't, because doing so would break the law. This is an interesting question. This is a moral judgment, right? And we know that laws are not always based on moral judgment. I mean, we'd like to think they are grounded in some religious view or some moral concept, but not all laws are. Okay. Now, the question is, do you feel like a life is more important than a specific law? And the question, I suppose, is, what is that law? If it was a silly law that wasn't grounded in anything logical or sensible, then I would go and save the life, I assume. But it also begs the question of, what is the consequence of me saving another life? Because if saving a life meant that I would break the law and therefore I would go to jail for X amount of years, that's really a tough call. I like to sit here and pretend to be some knight in shining armor and some righteous persons and be like, yes, of course I would save that person. I would save a life because, any life, all life is important. But I mean, if I saved a life and I broke the law and that law said that I would too spend life in jail, I would have to think twice. I do not profess to be that moral that I could just save a life and not be concerned about the life of my own and my family and everybody else. So I don't know. I didn't even know if I answered that question. Is there a meaning to life? If so, what it is? Oh, isn't this the age-old question? The meaning. Is there a meaning to life? I'm sure there is. And again, I'm sure it depends who you are, where you come from, what you've experienced. But the meaning to life is individual to that person. There is a meaning to life, and it is that person's meaning. It is that person's individual meaning. There is no overarching meaning to life. There is no one definition on what it means to live or how you should live your life. I think the meaning to life is just to live your life. Live a good life. If you want to take the moral high ground, then live a good life. And again, what is a good life? It's so subjective. I wish I had someone to bounce off, because like my mind rattles, and then I could stay in this awkward silence for like God knows how long. And you guys would just be watching me just ponder. If it was discovered that personality traits were partly genetic and could be removed with gene therapy, would it be ethical to edit out negative character traits that harm others, like extreme aggression, compulsive lying, or cruelty? Now, what was that movie by Ricky Gervais, The Invention of Lying? And it also reminds me of CRISPR. Like, have we heard of CRISPR, where they literally splice genes out of your DNA and remove certain characteristics and add in certain characteristics? So this is a thing. Like, whilst this is like philosophical questions, I think we're bordering on reality here, because there is such thing as this technology. Would we want to remove harmful characteristics like aggression and compulsive lying? God, that's really difficult, isn't it? It's a difficult question, and in my mind, off the bat, without having to think philosophical about it and think deeply about it, yes, you'd want to remove certain negative traits. But then again, we can't dictate, what we do to other people. I mean, a negative trait to you may be a positive trait for another person. I'm throwing a lot of cliches today, but one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Like, it's so subjective on what is, what is a harmful trait. I guess aggression is a harmful trait. A world with no aggression means where one emotion removed. Do you know what I mean? Like, humans are so beautiful, so fascinating. Art is so beautiful. Art is so fascinating. Music is so beautiful and so fascinating, because there is a personality trait that is aggression, right? There's anger and despair and hopelessness and disappointment and frustration. All these negative emotions and traits bring with it beautiful things. It has created a lot of beautiful art, from the pencil or the paintbrush of someone who is at their utmost despair in life. They have created beautiful artwork, beautiful music, wonderful sculptures. So to think that we wouldn't have these things because we remove certain traits, that on the surface level, sure, I guess we wouldn't ever have wars. I guess we would have this utopian society. But the question is, would you feel human? And would you feel yourself if that was the case? If we remove the ability to lie, do you think innately humans would think something's wrong with us? I guess it's a cascading effect. If you remove lying, then you'd have to remove the feeling of embarrassment. I guess you can remove the trait of shame. And I question what kind of humans we would be, how we would develop if we genetically remove certain traits away from us. So again, from a very shallow level, yes. But on a deeper level, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure if I would remove. If doing something good for others makes us feel good, can there be such thing as pure altruism? I remember answering this question too. If doing something good for others makes us feel good, yes. So in here belies the question that if you're doing it to make yourself feel good, it's self-serving. Is it really true altruism? Because I guess the definition of altruism is you doing it without the expectation that you're receiving anything back. Like you're doing it out of the own kindness of your own heart. So I remember discussing this question and the answer, and I think we came to the conclusion that no, there isn't such thing as true altruism if the intention is to create a positive feedback loop where you're constantly feeling good about your intentions, because it is ultimately self-serving. That's what we came up with. So it's an interesting question, and you know, you see this all through life. Like, you know, philanthropists, they throw money about and they're given to charity and all this stuff, but is it really true altruism, or it's very self-serving because they get media attention? You know, it's an ego boost. They feel good about themselves and people congratulate them, pat them back, and they're like, oh, you donated billions of dollars to this continent and you've cured this disease, blah blah blah. Is it really self-serving, or is it true altruism? Who knows? Can animals have morals? Ooh. This is interesting. The other day I was on Facebook, right? And you're probably thinking, Facebook? Really? What is that, you dinosaur? I was on Facebook and there was a video of a pack of lions literally eating alive this, what looked like, you know, a pig, not a domesticated pig, one of those wild pigs. And it was some of the most traumatic things I've seen on the internet. And I know there's a lot of traumatic things, but I was watching it eat this animal alive, and I'd go through the comments and it'd just be nature, you know, not human nature. They'd just be like hashtag wildlife, hashtag nature, mother nature. We have seen animals do amazing things and horrible things. I guess they're just like people. Do animals have morals? Probably, because haven't we all seen videos of animals doing wonderful things? Like, I think, again, it comes, random images and memories come to my mind. We've all seen that video of that dolphin that jumps down to the ocean and then brings up the lady's mobile phone that she drops. I mean, they're positive morals, right? Why did it do that? So yes, 100%. I think animals can have morals. What really guides their morals? Who knows? Who knows? Because again, we ground our morals based on our experiences, maybe religion, maybe our culture, maybe our society, maybe our village. I don't know what governs the animals. How should we measure the productivity of a society? Productivity of a society. Happiness levels? How much money they generate? Capitalism? Do we measure it by how successful they are in certain fields? I don't know. I have no idea how we measure the productivity of a society. I'd like to think it's not money though. You know, I don't like that idea. It's just very shallow. I want something deeper. What will the economy of wealthy countries look like in 50 to 100 years? I feel like in 50 to 100 years, wealthy countries will have a really, really big disparity between the haves and have-nots. We're seeing it now already. And I think the wealth gap is spreading even more and more and more and more. The top 1% or 0.5% will have what the rest are trying to get. You know, they'll have as much wealth as the 99.9 combined. So I think there will be huge disparity. Different people and different organisms perceive reality in vastly different ways. With that in mind, what is real and what is just our perception of reality? Or does every organism live in their own personal reality? Now, I've thought about this question. I believe that we all live in our personal reality, right? Two people can view the same movie and interpret it differently. We can both be speaking to the same person and we walk away thinking, that was a nice guy, or, oh, he was a total tool. So we perceive our own reality. We do not perceive reality. Reality exists, it's there, but how we perceive it is up to us. And I feel like we filter reality through our own personal lens. That lens is made up of our experiences, our traumas, things that we have gone through in life governs how we perceive our reality. So yes, everyone lives in their own reality. It's similar to the concept of manifestation, or people like, if you manifest it and you believe in it, then you can achieve it. Reminds me of that Conor McGregor meme. Or not Conor McGregor, someone else, I can't remember. But it's why such philosophies or spiritual philosophies exist, to saying that if you believe it, you put it out to the universe and you manifest it, you create your own reality, right? If you believe that you're lucky, if you think that you deserve good things, then good things just naturally happen to you because you're shaping it in your reality. That's why I think it's so important to develop a certain mindset where you're literally untouchable, unbreakable. If something negative happens to you, you can control the perception of it and you can turn it into something positive, right? I remember Naval Ravikant said that, he could get really upset about someone that's constantly showing him pictures of their holiday or their child, or, just like, hey, Naval, I got a picture of this, I'm going to bombard you with this. And he said that he could get frustrated at that, he can get annoyed at that, or he could really change his perception of that reality and be like, they're just being really sweet. They're obviously very proud of their child and they really want to show off their child to me, and how blessed am I to be able to really share in this person's happiness, right? That is reality, and that's how you can shape your reality. So yes, different organisms and different people perceive their own reality in different ways. Again, it's filtered through their experiences and through their trauma and through their life and through their culture and through their village and through the people they spend their time with, and through their religion, through their moral traits, and through their values, and through all these systems that they're exposed to. I think definitely personal reality is a thing, and not everyone's reality is the same. With that said, I'm going to end it here because I felt like my brain is getting fizzled with all the deep thoughts coming my way. Until the next video, take care, and I'd like to kind of continue these videos. They're kind of fun. All right, see ya.